recording. We're gonna give it a little sync clap.
I think we're rolling.
Now we know where to go. So
yeah, we're good. Oh yeah, we're flip flop, but that's all right.
We'll be good
with that.
All right. So what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Four Stars podcast. My name's Kyle. This is Nick. We are going to be your hosts for this evening. This is the first podcast we're going to be putting out. We don't actually know the complete direction of what we want to do with this today, but that's okay because we're going to make it happen.
We're going to figure it out.
So what's going on, Nick? What are we going to talk about today?
I'm not sure. I think we're both losing our podcast virginity today. This is the first one for both of us, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, so we're going to do a cheers. 312 is actually sponsoring us. That's the goal, at least.
We'll get there eventually.
They've got the 4 stars right there. So I guess a good little sub-tangent to get into is, what 4 stars even means and what it is. So, with our brands and brands we work with, we're both in the content marketing space. And, the one constant between everything is kind of Chicago and those within it. So when it came down to, creating the name for 4 stars, bringing in all the people that we know to kind of tell their story, it was important for us to be able to, express what that means. And obviously a lot of that has to do with Chicago and being here and kind of representing this amazing city. But on top of that, it's just kind of like our motto, and most people that I work with have a very similar motto of, getting it done. And I know that sounds super cliche, but it pretty much just comes down to like getting the rough draft built, getting, your product out there, and then always knowing that there's room to improve, knowing that 5th star is there, but not, waiting to create the perfect product always. It's getting it out there and then adding revisions. And if we're going to talk about college just off the bat, I think the one thing you do learn in college that's good, or high school, whatever, just general schooling, is, English class, when they make you do revisions for things like, or rough drafts rather. Like, I think that's actually a really good concept, and I think people should apply that in more of their life. But that's where the 4 stars kind of comes into place. There's always that 5th one. Don't let, Casey Neistat says this, and I really like it. Don't let perfection get in the way of good enough. So that's kind of a big thing that we like to vibe with.
Love it.
But yeah, man, what do you think we should talk about today?
I think we're both in the same business.
Yeah.
So, that's the common interest between the two of us. So,
yeah.
I think we should start getting into that. You got Sulker Media. I got Loggy Media.
Yeah.
We're both in the same business. When did you start Sulker Media, and what was your kind of motivation behind it?
Yeah, for sure. So, that's a good question. I think content marketing right now is an awesome business to be in. Whether you want to call it content marketing, I kind of created the term content-driven digital marketing because, I think really digital marketing is nothing without being able to create content, because I really don't like how the inconsistencies of things can happen when, I have one guy creating the website, one guy creating the photos and videos and uploading them, and it just creates this whole dynamic of terribleness. So to your question, when did it start? I think I registered Sulker Media as a business 5 or 6 years ago.
And how old were you when you did that?
I'm 23 now, so... 18,
17.
Something like that, 17, 18.
Dude, good for you.
No. But I tell everyone this, and that's why I want to get into it with Nick too. Like, I'm not good at a lot of, like, most things I'm really, really bad at, like really shitty at sports, all this stuff. So I was been in business for a long time. I started my first business when I was like 10, 11 years old. I used to buy and sell dirt bikes, and I got into phones. I fixed phones when I was like 11. Then that got into computers. Computers went into cars, and kind of just always reinvested. I always like fixing things and whatever. But I even posted a picture on Instagram the other day of me coming back on the train. I used to buy MacBooks downtown because there was more of them out there, whether I was buying them from offices or wherever, and then I'd sell them in the suburbs. I refurbish them, put new software on them, make them just nicer, repackage them, essentially selling the service. And I bought my first Canon T3i. I know a lot of people, that's kind of the first.
That was my first camera.
Yeah, too. It's hard to avoid that camera. I got it downstairs still. And people always ask me, like, why did you buy it? Like, it was at the time like $700-800, and it was kind of like all the money I had, like in addition to the business. And it was just because it was like a general passion. Like, I just liked creating photos. I would go to like the basketball games and stuff like that. Shout out to John Conchar, the dude's on the Memphis Grizzlies. We got to get him on here. I remember even like taking pictures of him like back then. And to me, it's so cool because it was like being able to give somebody value. I always said like cameras open doors.
Absolutely.
And you're bringing value to the table, and it's very hard to deliver value at a young age otherwise to a lot of successful people or people who just matter or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And that's kind of what always intrigued me. And just making the long story a little shorter, that was always kind of like in the back of my mind. I bought and sold a bunch of cars, probably, 65, 70 cars at this point. I was big into that. thousands of computers and phones and stuff like that, but I always wanted to kind of combine all my passions together, and that started over here at Elmhurst BMW.
Right.
I took a job here doing all their social media back in the day before car dealers really did a lot of Facebook and Instagram advertising, and just kind of kept working on the skill set and buying more camera gear, continually reinvesting. I never really had an idea or reason to keep reinvesting so much money into it, but it just there's some things in life that just make sense. Like, it just feels right. So you just,
So when you started Sulker Media, did you know you wanted to get into the industry of cars? Because I know the slogan is content-driven digital marketing.
Yeah.
So when you started it, did you have that vision in your head that you wanted to go after, dealers in automotive?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. Like, I think it was in the sense of like, I like cars so much.
Right.
It wasn't like I was opposed to doing, like, I did stuff for restaurants for free and all this
yeah.
different stuff and a bunch of rallies and did cars. But yeah, I think it just made the most sense because I knew the industry decently well.
Those are your two hobbies, cars and cameras.
Yeah. Cameras, cars. Yeah, exactly. 100%, man. And it just made the most sense. And the first client I ever got outside of my job here was a dealership called Lucky Motors, which they're not around any. They still are around a different location, but the location I was at, I still vividly remember just sitting outside. It's not sitting, but I was outside of the dealership shooting photos. It was like, I don't even know, like 10 degrees out, super cold. I didn't care. I just was like a motivated kid, like 17, 18, like, I'm going to build this business. My biggest goal, was honestly just being transparent with everyone. I really wanted to break 6 figures. That was like my big goal. I wrote down all the things I needed to do that.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's first big milestone.
Yeah. And that'll lead into, we definitely had to touch on that too, because that's like a big thing. I think doing that and having new clients and stuff like that, I think my first client was $500 a month, and I was doing a lot of work for them, but I didn't land it for a long time. I literally had to
do free work for them and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it goes, though. I mean, I think that's how everyone starts, and that's how you have to start. I know myself. I did countless projects for free before I landed my first paid client, and I always had this mindset that I had to find a client to get the next better client.
Yeah.
And then once I got that client, I would get a better client.
Exactly.
And I think that was my mindset starting out. And I quickly realized that that's just kind of running on a treadmill and you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Once you get that first paid client, that's who you have to take care of the most.
Yeah, exactly.
More than anything, referrals are going to get you where you need to go. Because if you 100%. Get a referral, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
But if you're always worried about the next project,
you're
not going to be doing a good job on the ones you have.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it took me a while to realize that, but now that I have that mindset, I finally think I'm starting to gain that traction and start going
100%, dude. Yeah. I mean, you've blown up so quickly, and that's, I mean, it's a testament to not only your skill set that's developed, but also like perseverance and like the willingness to adapt, like understanding what you just said. Like, and I think that's the reason I want to really, this podcast means so much to us, is being able to express that kind of unspoken rule of like, hey, like, even if your plan changes every day, that's fine. Just keep trying different things, because that's how you actually develop the skill sets. Like, you understood, like, hey, honestly, realistically speaking, I've got to nurture my first clients and stuff like that more so than, because it's easy to jump to the next one, right?
Yeah.
You got a $500 client, but then you have somebody who's like, I'll pay you $1,000 a month to do X, Y, Z.
And then your head goes there, and you forget about the $500 client.
Exactly. Who gave you the chance first?
Yeah, but you can't do that, because that $500 client one day could become your $10,000 client.
Exactly right.
And that's how it works.
Exactly.
I mean, not only are you trying to make your business grow, you got to worry about their business too.
100%.
And when their business grows, they pay you
It's
more.
inevitable. Yeah, so, exactly. It's a value thing. And I think so many people are like, it's like being a value leech versus being a value like adder or giver. And the more people sense that, people can smell that. It's instinct 100%. In humans. Like, and if you actually legitimately help somebody, like, they're going to reciprocate it. And if they're not, it's just a bad person or client. But you know what? You can't prevent that in this life. You're better off shooting your shot, trying your best, because people who trying to always have an angle, it's just not ideal, right? You're going to put yourself in a position to get burned. So, at least in my opinion.
I agree with you on that for sure.
But yeah, man, I mean, so I guess I got some questions for you. Like, starting out, obviously, scaling the business there's so many different facets that go into it. And obviously we're never finished, right? That's why you call it 4 stars, not 5 stars, because none of us feel like we're finished. So none of this is us being like, oh, we made it. Now we're going to tell. It's like, no, we want to be able.
You're never finished.
You're never finished. You're truthfully never finished. And I think, like, giving people that outlet. Like you could be the kid starting out with a camera. You might have no camera. Like you might have nothing. And
using your iPhone in your pocket.
Exactly.
What does everyone say? The best camera you have is the one you have on
Yeah,
you.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's how people start.
I agree with that 100%. Like, and you might be a production agency or something, whatever. You might be way out here. You might be way out here. It really, truthfully doesn't matter. But this is like you being able to get something that you can reciprocate with. Like be like, oh, like that feels good to know that this person struggled here too. This person did that also. Like, you know, with my client, it took me literally 5 or 6 different proposal revisions to what I had. And my buddy, shout out Mike Salerno, he works at Chicago Motor Cars. This guy's the man. He literally like was like, dude, no, that's not gonna work. He's like, make this, add in this data, make sure you do this, or if you're gonna do it for free, like, yeah, that's amazing. Like you're really helping us out, but like add this data in because like this is what's gonna make it make sense. Because he knew the car industry way better than I did. So it's like, you know, you might be optimizing for one thing when you should be optimizing for another. So, and that's all good data, like being able to make relationships and stuff like that. And now he's one of my boys. We had some mutual friends, my brother and stuff like that. So it helped out. But yeah, man, I think like it's always, there's no 2 stories are the same, right? So like, I'm curious to hear like, you know, like what do you think your obstacles were? And Nick is a little bit different in the sense of, you know, I started a tiny bit earlier. So I was like, as far as my age, so, and in a different kind of space, because like, I guess content was like a little bit less like known and cool back, like not cool. I don't mean like that, but I mean like in the sense of like, maybe clients were like a little bit, they didn't know they needed it as much as they do now, like a few years later. So the dynamic's totally changing. It's
all going to keep growing.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's like interesting to know, because like back then it was like selling people on the content. Now it's like, who's the best at making the content? So like my content when I started was garbage in comparison to like you launching and starting your, because like the levels have changed. There's like, you know what I mean? And like there's more resources now, but there's also like the game is harder now.
There's more people doing it.
Exactly.
There's more people doing it. But I mean, the way I see it is there's always going to be someone that's better than you.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
You just have to be better at conveying the value that you're going to provide to your client.
100%.
So.
No, I couldn't. Yeah, dude, you're 100% right. I mean, like you think like, because me, I was going into college. Nick was actually coming out of college. So whether your opinion, we'll have a whole other podcast on whether you should go or shouldn't go to college. It's not really up to us to decide, but both of us did. Should be graduating in like a week. I'm not gonna count any chickens. But Nick did graduate. He did have a full-time finance job, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see, because I was like, you know, I think when you're young, you kind of have all, like, as long as you have, I was already making money in other ways, like, you know, the cars, computers, like I was fine. Like, so whatever I took a chance on was okay. But, you know, Nick was going into his full-time career, and he actually, you know, gave it. I remember, you know, watching Nick's video, which you guys will have to link. You guys can see it on his Instagram. But like, I remember watching that and be like, damn, that's like a really, like, that's a straight up leap of faith.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I made that video the day after I quit. I was sitting on my desk in my room and I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
And I just had all these emotions running through me. I just had to like let them go somehow. So I just put a little video together just to let everyone know what I was doing next. And I got a lot of feedback from it, more than I thought. You know, people telling me like, yo, this is so inspiring. Just like all this stuff. And I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like my most liked like post ever on my Instagram. And it was like the most poorly put together video I've ever done in my entire life. So, I mean, that's just something else to remind people.
Yeah.
It's not about the all right. I'm not going to take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I think quality is like very important, but it's not all about the quality. It's
100%.
what you're putting into it.
Yeah.
It's the message you're getting across.
Yeah.
But yeah,
dude, I couldn't. That's you hit it on the nail on the head, because that kind of like goes along with like what we're saying. Like, had you never made that video, maybe I'm not saying like the video is the reason you became successful with this, but it's like it might have given you that little ounce of a boost that you needed, like of support from other people.
It absolutely did.
You know,
it reminded me how many people were behind me.
Exactly,
it really did. Even people I hadn't talked to since high school. I haven't even seen these people in 5-6 years. Like they all send me private messages, be like, dude, I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to see where you go. And that. I know people say don't care what other people think of you.
Yeah,
but as much as you say it, it helps. It does.
Yeah, I think people like say that because it's like, oh, I don't care what anyone thinks, and I'll be the first person to say that kind of stuff. But we do. It's psychology. Absolutely. It's just our brains. We have no control over it. If you think you're better than everyone else, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you don't, whatever you think or feel, that's up to you. But reality situation is, it's nice to have people who are on your side who trust you and believe in you. It doesn't mean that, you know, you might have a lot of support, and that might be backhanded support. Those same people might really think that you're not going to succeed, and they might like get off on the fact that, you know, you might fail. Who knows? But you know what? It doesn't really make a difference, because, you know, I've learned that in myself. It's like, who cares? There's no like, who cares? Like, if you don't or you do, I mean, you have to, I mean, I guess you could use that as positive leverage, like to prove people wrong. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's really nothing wrong with it. But at the same time, like, there's really no need to feel negative about it. Like, either you're going to do or you're not going to do.
Yeah.
If you're going to fail if you take that criticism on, you don't wake up in the morning, you don't work on what you need to do, you don't get the 4 stars completed, and you keep saying, oh, well, I'm not going to do it until, that's my biggest pet peeve is when people are like, well, that's because I'm not going to do this until XYZ or until, this happens. And it's like, dude, there's so many other little facets and factors that go into like business or whatever skill set that you're like being like so arrogant and thinking that you know the puzzle and you're just like holding off for like one element. It's like, that's not even possible, dude.
Yeah. And the one thing I realized quickly after, leaving corporate and starting the media company was it's not all about the cameras. It's not all about the media. There's 100 other things that go into it that you never think about until you get into it. Like, I remember the first week I put a huge piece of paper on my wall and I just started writing down things I needed to do to get started.
Yeah.
I had so many damn things on that list. I didn't even know where to start. And I would stare at the list for hours and hours and just try to figure out what to do. But you really just have to narrow in on the most important things. So I might have done this out of order.
Yeah.
I don't know. But number 1 was like, I need to figure out the name.
Yeah.
2 was the logo.
Yeah.
3 was the website.
Yeah.
And I spent like weeks on my website.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was wasting time 100%, but like that was important to me at the time. And now I realize that it's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the things that go into it. How are you going to find your prospects?
Yeah.
How are you going to sell them on your service? Like, telling someone you make videos and showing them a video isn't going to get them in the door.
100%.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So there's just so many other things that go around building a business around your cameras.
Yeah,
exactly. Than just showing your portfolio to people.
Dude, yeah. I couldn't agree more. And it's like, you got to make it like quantifiable for people, right?
100%.
So like, and getting like that first, like, I think we were talking about this the other day. Like, it's very difficult because as a business owner or whatever, like it doesn't matter what you are, whatever it is you do. You don't even own the business. It's like just being in that position of like leading everything. Like, you've got to solve a lot of little problems, and a lot of the times, like, the content is the last part of it. Like, you can be the best, but I always said this. Like, some of the best photographers I know, like, don't know how to market themselves properly, or they think they do, and it's the wrong approach. In my opinion, it doesn't mean it is the wrong approach. It's just, in my personal opinion, there's other ways people can go to pivot that would make them either a lot more money or give them a lot more time freedom or whatever. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, it's up to whatever people like and want to do.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I really carried with me from my job in finance. I know you know my route, but just for the people that don't, I graduated college with a major in finance and economics. I went to go work in commercial banking for about 2.5 years, and cameras and photos and video was always a hobby of mine.
Yeah.
Always. And I started getting better and better. I would make travel videos just like everyone else would.
Yeah.
People would see them and someone was like, hey, can you come film my wedding?
Yeah.
I'm like, sure. So then I started making some wedding videos, and that's how I feel like a lot of people start.
Yeah.
And then my dad's friend owns a business, and he's like, hey, can you make us a video for our business? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So like more people start seeing it.
Yeah.
And it starts getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I can really, do something with this.
100%.
But it took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
And what I took with me from my finance background with commercial banking was, the number one and most important thing was you need to know your client's business.
Yep.
Just like they do. And you need to make an effort to really understand it to be able to solve their problems.
Yep.
And that's the one thing from that I brought with me here. And it translates very well.
Yeah.
You're still solving a problem for them, whether it's on the financial side or the marketing side to get more people in the door.
Yeah.
You still need to make them money. And to do that, you need to understand their business.
Yeah.
And that's my number one priority. When I get in the meeting with someone, my first question to them is, tell me about what you do.
Exactly. No, that's on the head. And it's crazy because we've never even had this conversation, but it's so true. I mean, because it's like you had to figure it out the hard way, right? And it's like, so did I. It's like no one cares about what the content looks like if it doesn't make them more, and especially in a business like car dealers or sales, like no one gives a shit unless you're making them money, which in their defense, it makes sense. Why would you? It's a cost in, cost out, like, or money in, money out situation. Like, if you don't make somebody money, why would they have you around? No, unless unless they
just like cool shit and like want to have
exactly. But there's a limit to that. Like, how much can you really spend? Unless for example, right now during a damn pandemic, like, you think you're gonna sell people on making cool stuff for them?
No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? Like, only thing that's gonna sell is your work and how effective it is in bringing in clients. And that's why what you just said, that's brilliant. Like, understanding businesses and what they want to do and what they need to do to make sales. Like, but then it's a no-brainer. If I can make somebody a video or do a campaign, an advertisement campaign for a dealership, and I know that I'm getting them it doesn't need to be this quantifiable. But for example, if I make something, I know is whatever, say $5,000 a month or whatever, you could do a heavy campaign with amazing commercial, whatever it is, and they can net or gross or whatever you want to say. Let's say net profit is $50,000 to $100,000, whatever it is. It's just whatever, arbitrary number. Doesn't really make a difference. However, if it's more than the money that they paid, it makes sense. You know what I mean? That's it. That's it. It's a cost in, cost out. You have a cookie store or a bakery, and you sell 10 more loaves of bread, and those 10 loaves of bread cost, aggregate over a whole month, you make $1,000 profit off of our marketing. It makes sense. Yeah. Like, that's it. That's all that. It's just money in, money out. And you're just providing that service in between.
Exactly. And really understanding their situation is huge. And like another example of that is, my dad's in the automotive space.
Yeah.
He has his collision repair shop, mechanical shop, tow truck centers, all that stuff. Right when that pandemic started, he was a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Absolutely nervous wreck. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to have to lay off guys. We're not going to have jobs coming in, all this stuff. Next day, huge hailstorm in Evanston and Skokie, right where his shop is. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, he got into work the next day. He's like, we had 15 cars come in, all hail damage.
That's crazy.
I'm like, let's jump on this.
Yeah.
So like, I brought my camera in.
Yeah.
I videoed them replacing windshields, fixing, doing paintless dent repair, all that kind of stuff. I ran an ad on Facebook for Skokie Evanston area.
Yeah.
Next week, over 60 cars in the shop.
It's crazy.
So really adjusting to the situation. That I know it's my dad. It's not like my client exactly, but I think it translates well. So 100%. Like really understanding that business's situation and trying to figure out a solution for them and really jumping on the opportunity at hand is huge to really show your value to someone.
Dude, 100%, man. Like that's like the perfect analogy for like adapt or die, right? Like that's like what that means. Like pivot. Like, and I think the coronavirus was a perfect way for everyone to like understand that. Like, you have the choice. You can either go stay home. It's fine if you do this. Stay home and feel sorry. Yeah, and collect the stimulus check. That's fine. I'm glad they have it. No political stuff on this podcast ever. But you could do that. You could do that if you want, but you could also make the choice to pivot out of it a little bit if you'd like to, and use the opportunity or use, whatever it may be to either help people, whether you're donating, your time or resources to hospitals, or you want to use it for your business strategy, whatever. But I like to say this, and this will be a theme. I'll probably say this again. You're never going to be punished in this life for making money as long as it's not illegal. Which, whatever, you can run off with your imagination what I'm talking about with being illegal, but like, you'll never be punished, right? So like, if you're like, well, I don't know if people are going to feel bad about me, like running ads for, hail damage when it's during a pandemic, or like, it doesn't have anything, actually has nothing to do with the pandemic. It's like, are you trying to, for example, are you trying to take advantage of people? No, you're trying to show them a service that you have that's going to bring value to them.
Exactly.
And you can look at things in one or two ways. You can look at it as like, oh, you're trying to take advantage of people and make money off of this. And yes, business is in business to make business and to make money and a profit. But at the same time, consumers want businesses around to help them with their problems.
Yep.
You have to be able to connect the two. Your dad might, whether he does or doesn't know how to run Facebook ads, it's irrelevant. But like, if he does, he would do it. Yeah. He probably doesn't. So that's why you do it. So there's an intermediary step. We have a customer who wants the product, who doesn't know how to find it. We have a person who's willing and able, a professional, to make it happen.
Yeah.
Who has to be in between? The problem with somebody in between who only knows how to run Facebook ads, then the content gets diluted, or it's not personable. You're not going to actually convert on your ads, all this stuff. So being able to have content-driven digital marketing, content-driven digital marketing. You have a really good ad, really good marketing style. You understand. You're not going to, for example, just making for anyone who doesn't run ads. If he ran that ad to United States, his money would be blown.
Absolutely blown.
You run exactly. You run it in a 5 to 15 mile radius of Skokie and Evanston in the northern part of Chicago. Guess what? Everyone in that radius is going to see your stuff. So like that's like, and not only do they see your stuff, but you're actually providing value because you're giving them beautiful content to watch and see, and you're making something that typically traditionally isn't that beautiful. Like painless dent repair isn't that cool, but you make it cool, so they like it more. The shop is happy. You're happy. You're bringing money in. People are happy to find that resource.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. End of story. Like it's pretty cut and dry as to why it makes sense, and that's why like if anyone gets anything from this specific episode, it's like, maybe this is the route for you. Whether you're in the pandemic, you lost your job, or you're trying to do this, you've been trying, you have to realize if you make it quantifiable for your client, it's a math equation. Most things in life are kind of just a math equation. Like you make it worth it if they can make money. and you can make money and the customer's happy, no one's getting harmed.
No.
But if you sit on your butt and don't do anything, guess what? You can't expect somebody to knock on your door with $1 million. It's not how this stuff works.
Yeah. And when you're dealing with someone else's money, the game changes.
Oh yeah.
The game absolutely changes. Cause like there's one thing of like doing free work for someone. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
The client has no pressure. They're not expecting shit from you.
Exactly.
They don't give a fuck what you give them. You
exactly.
could give them the worst video you've ever made. They'll still be happy because they didn't spend 1 cent on you.
Exactly.
And you don't have the pressure to perform, but also that takes away your motivation to make a good video.
Exactly.
But when you have someone else's money in your hands, you got to perform under that pressure. They're expecting something from you, and you have to meet those expectations.
Exactly. And I think that's the problem too with a lot of people is like, they're like, oh, I don't never work for free. It's like, is your skill set good enough to say that? Yeah. Like, if it's not, then just work for free. Like, suck it up. Like, I didn't make money with a camera. I always tell people this for like 7 years of owning a camera. Like, and I did so much stuff. I spent hours editing. Like, I got in fights with like ex-girlfriends about like editing photos. Like, because I was so passionate about it, but like, I wanted to be the first. Like, we'd go on rallies or whatever, and people like with cars. I don't know if you guys are familiar, if you are or not. Like, people with cool cars, they'll go on rallies, and I would be the guy. I'd drive whatever, but I'd also take photos, and there'd be other photographers there. But my thing was like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna edit these, and I'm gonna post them because why? Everyone wants a cool cover photo, everyone wants a cool profile picture, whatever it may be, and everyone wants to see the day's kind of like recap. They're chilling at home, and you can either wait a week to post them, but even if my photos are 90. Even 70 to 80 to 90% as good as the other people's, and I had them up the same day, that's more valuable than the 100% in a week because people don't care in a week anymore. No. It's over.
The excitement's still there.
It's using the iron while it's hot. I love that expression. Absolutely. Because so many people are like, oh, I'm gonna make sure these edits are perfect. I'm gonna do this or that, or I'm tired. I'm not gonna do this tonight. And fine, that's up to you.
4 stars is better than 5.
Exactly, right? That's the theme, man. That's the theme. Just getting it done, man. That's number one. And I think that it just applies to everything. And like the free work thing, man. Like if you're in the middle of it, like I understand. Like if you have no money at all, like you're like, why would I put effort into something? But there's like so much time in the day. Like even if you have a part-time job or whatever it may be, or you want to start making money with this, like fine. You don't want to do it for free. Maybe charge like little increments of money. But even if you make $100 or $200 in a day doing something like a video for somebody, I don't care who you are. If you know how to do video, you could shoot a video and edit it in a day. And I know a lot of people who'd gladly pay $200 to $500 for a video of their company, even if it was like mediocre, because it's just providing the outlet. Because most people are a lot more than that.
For sure.
So as long as it beats a part-time job or even a full-time job at a minimum wage, which after taxes and whatever you want to call it, $200 a day is plenty. Just don't be so like, I guess, arrogant or cocky to think that you need to make like so much money right away. Because so many people are like, oh, I'm going to become a millionaire overnight. It's like, dude, if you don't know how to make $10,000 or even $1,000, you don't make 1,000, you can't make 10, you can't make 50, you can't make 100, you can't make 250, you can't make 500, you can't make $1 million. So many people think that they could just skip levels. It's like, what makes you think that?
That's how people start, though. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, we all do.
Everyone thinks the same way, and I love talking about this free work kind of conversation. It's like my favorite thing to talk about because everyone starts somewhere, and I think everyone needs to do it. And a lot of people are against it because they say, "Oh, it lowers the value of everyone else in the market." That's bullshit.
No, 100%,
that's bullshit,
dude. Just people being like,
if you're in the game for a long time, you can charge whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
people are gonna pay for it.
Exactly.
But if you're just starting, go out and get that free work. And guess what? If you do a great fucking job and they're just a startup company, in 2 years, they're going to remember you did a great job for them. And you're going to be the first person they call.
Yep.
And I remember the first client I got, I literally sent them, but I was sitting at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I saw one of their ads pop up on my Instagram. I literally sent them an Instagram DM. I'm like, hey, I just quit my job. I'm starting this company.
Yeah.
I sent them like 2 videos that I had done. They weren't even like client videos. They were just like some travel videos.
Yeah.
Just so like to show like quality, whatever.
Yeah.
I got a response back in 2 minutes. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And I told them I would do it for free for the first month, and then we could like negotiate something after if they liked it.
That's so cool.
So anyways, we like set our shoot date, whatever, did everything. I got them the content. And after that, I had a meeting with them to talk about things going forward.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to move forward. But it's not because they didn't like what I did. They were a new company. They didn't have the money. And it wasn't the right time for them to do it.
Yeah.
But they paid me anyways.
Yeah, that's sweet.
They paid me for the work that I said I was going to do for free.
That's awesome.
So,
because they're people. They're humans at the end of the day. They're not going to give you some, ridiculous. people aren't like assholes, for lack of a better term. Like they just, they're going to take care of you if they can. And some people are,
absolutely.
Which is fine. It's unavoidable. So yeah, if we had any gaps, this is going to be our preface. Sony A7 IIIs have a 30-minute record limit. We've got other cameras that have longer record limits, but we're just trying to dial everything in at the studio right now, and we like how it looks. Exactly. So that's we're gonna let you guys know these little things because that's what being 4 stars is. We just had a cut. We don't love to have cuts, but we're gonna do it because it makes sense, and we like the way that it looks. So we'll make it happen. But yeah, guys, I mean, getting back into it, I think with between Nick and myself. There's definitely a lot of similarities, which is crazy. The only difference really is the fact that, where he left from and where I kind of came from. And that's what I kind of want to touch on a little bit more, but we both kind of, came off free work. We can't push that enough. The free work aspect really, like one of the general managers here, Irv, he's like my man, like a mentor. He's like the best manager that I know. And, it started off with, me and my brother worked at this store at Elmhurst BMW, and essentially, Irv was looking for somebody to film his son's lacrosse game, but way back in the day, like 5-6 years ago. And I was like, oh, of course, I'll film it, no problem. And I didn't really have an agenda. I just wanted to help out, and because I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And that's the interesting part, right? I didn't know if I wanted to shoot inventory photos of cars, if I wanted to do social media or videos, whatever. I just was kind of doing whatever. But I was like, of course, I'll film it. And, we met up and we filmed it, and we joke about it to this day. When we sat down, we met at a Starbucks, and I gave him the flash drive, and he like tried to hand me like $20 or $50 for dinner. And he's like, I want to at least take care of your dinner. And I was like, and I'm like, I don't want your money. I was like, I just want an interview. Right. And he was like, what? like it threw him back, but it was cool. And it was like, I meant it, like genuinely meant it. I was like, I would just love to sit down with him, and it kind of threw him for a loop. But like, he's like, this kid really wants it. He really wants to my time, and that's very valuable because he's a very high level person. And he's like, send me an email with your stuff. And when you said, your travel videos, if you look deep on my YouTube channel, you'll see like old videos of M3s. Yeah, there's like old videos with like really bad audio, but at the time I had like 30,000 views or something. So I used it and I sent it as a kind of like a portfolio. Yeah. And I'm like, this is me talking about like my M3 or whatever. Like This is that. Like literally, like honestly, looking back, videos were garbage, but they were a placeholder for what I needed at the time.
I have all mine unlisted now. They're still on YouTube, but they're unlisted. So just in case anyone searches my name on YouTube, they're not going to find those. But they're still there for me to see if I want them.
Yeah, 100%, dude. That's the funny thing. I feel like it's like having the placeholder to be like, here you go. Like this is what I can do. There's room for improvement, and somebody might think your 50% is okay, and 50 is always better than 100 or 0, not 100, 0. Like I think everyone gets that confused. Like for example, if you're getting a grade in a class on a paper, it's better to turn the paper in for 50% as a placeholder than a 0.
Nothing,
I know everyone's like, it's still an F. Yeah, but guess what? You still got points. You still got something. You got some kind of skin in the game.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because over time, obviously starting out, like there was really not much money in it, but it helped me develop my skill set. And I always tell everyone, like, you should get a job first, doing something, because it gives you the ability to make money, to understand how things work. And there's much higher level people in organizations, and you can't be cocky to think that you know more than them. You just simply don't. Understand how organizations work, how money's flowed through, be able to kind of make mistakes on somebody else's dime, not in the sense of like you're taking, but like.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No one wants to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't want the pressure on yourself. You don't want to be going into a job thinking there's a chance I might fuck this up.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%.
Yeah.
And if you're like, feel like you're underpaid, it's like, okay, well, fine. There's a reason you're being underpaid. Maybe your skill set just isn't simply there yet. And I know for a fact mine wasn't. My confidence and cockiness of being, 17, 18 years old was there. And I think the older you get, the less you kind of have that bullshit, cockiness kind of thing. Yeah. I feel like, actually, continuity-wise, this wasn't in the shop before, so video, you guys are gonna be like, that keyboard wasn't there. Yeah, it wasn't. That's continuity. But that's why it's 4 stars, not 5 stars. I think like there's a reason for everything, right? And everyone thinks that they're way more advanced than they should be, and everyone thinks that they should be making millions of dollars, and they're gonna magically just drop out of college and have some brilliant idea or make some patent and sell it to something. And I've been there. I think the only thing really advantage I had is I was there like slightly earlier, just because business was my game like forever. Because like I said, I suck shit at like most things that involve like traditional like sports and academics. I'm not like bad at academics, but I'm not particularly good, and I'm actually really bad at sports. So
you got the nicest golf clubs though.
Yeah, we were talking about golf earlier. I'm like, I got nice clubs. I'm not good at golf, but you might think I am. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to like, talk to Nick like more about like because I think that's the most intriguing part to me. Like, you know, like because I feel like me, like it wasn't really that big of a leap. I wasn't making any leap of faith really. It was just kind of like me doing what like made sense. No one was really on my back. You know, I was in school. I paid for my own school, whatever. But like I could manage my life. But Nick, like being able to drop everything and do that, like obviously you have to make sure you have some money saved, whatever it may be. But like no one, even if somebody's super super supportive, that same person, no matter how much they believe in you, there's always going to be like a little bit of doubt. Like, man, what's going to happen if he doesn't do this? How am I going to handle this? Whether it's your loved ones or, you know, whatever it may be, your girlfriend, like they always will be there for you. But it's like, you kind of have to show that like the proof has got to be in the pudding. I always say that, like, you got to step up your game. You got to bring clients in. You got to make real money now and on your own.
Yeah. And the support was always there, like you said, but the real genuine support that you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
That didn't come until they saw the clients and the money.
Yeah.
And that's when it started coming. And it sucks that that's how the way it has to go, but
there's no way around it. Yeah.
You know, we're in our own worlds. Yeah. Other people aren't in this with us, so they don't understand, and you can't blame them for not knowing.
100%. Yeah.
So sometimes it takes the money to, you know, show that.
100%, dude. And that's the thing, like with that, like you can't expect somebody to have your back. Like everyone's like, oh, you're not being supportive. It's like, dude, shut up. Just like do it. Like give them something to support. Right. You know, like you can't support thin air. Like even if you have a camera, you make something cool or you take some cool pictures, it's like fine, but like you got to go beyond it. Like you're not rewarded in this life for like just doing like the traditional like thing. If somebody's on YouTube doing a tutorial on how to, you know, do a cool video transition or a cool photo edit, fine. That's cool, man. Keep doing it. You're passionate about it, do it. But don't expect somebody to be like, oh, just because you're really good at this. Like you have to be an actual business owner. As a creative, if you're going to start your own marketing agency or whatever you want to call it, you actually have to step up. You have to know how to do invoices. You have to know how to sell people. You have to have all this other experience. If you don't have it already, you have to develop it over time.
Dude, and like it's funny you say like the invoice thing.
Yeah.
Because when I was starting and I got my first client, I'm like, how do I get their money?
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And I literally had to like go on YouTube and like type in how do I use QuickBooks to like send an invoice, and I'm like, how do they send me the money?
Yeah.
And like just all these little intricacies that you just never think about until you're in the position.
Yeah.
And this is going into another topic, but I forget how the saying goes, but it's like you always say yes and you figure it out later.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And that's just one of those things that like
what permission and forgiveness. That saying, like ask for do it first, and then whatever, ask for forgiveness later, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like get it done. Like, I mean, that's like why it's such a universal principle. It's cliched, and we'll repeat it again and again. But it's like just like get it done. Like, and that's the thing. Everyone's like, I don't know how to do that. Like. And I know everyone throws out, oh, it's on YouTube, it's on Google.
Yeah.
Like, no, it actually is. Yeah, like, it actually is.
But there are some things you just simply can't do. So like, for example, the client I just had the shoot like 2 days ago. When I signed the deal with him, his one thing he really, really wanted in the video was animations. And I have no experience with animations.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have no desire to figure out how to do them.
Yeah.
But I still signed the deal, and I said yes.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, I got to find an animator.
Yeah.
So it's like, say yes, figure it out later. And there's always a way to figure it out.
Dude, 100%. And I feel like I was thinking about this yesterday for some reason, because like it just bothers the shit out of me now that I think about it. Like asking the right people the wrong questions. So if you were like, yo, Kyle, like I need an animator. You got a guy? I'm like, dude, I actually do. And then when you said this now, I'm like, oh, I actually have a guy. Like I got you. Next question. Like not even a problem. But it's so many people ask the right people to ask, right? I might be the right people to ask for an animator. I've done a bunch of gigs like that. The wrong questions in the sense of, like, I always use the expression. I don't know where it came from, but don't ask a doctor how to tie your shoes. What I mean by that is ask a doctor what prescription or antibiotic you need to, like, not die.
Yeah.
Don't ask him some question that doesn't matter. Like, otherwise you're going to expend energy from somebody else and then they're going to make, you're going to make your value to them seem so low. Like, even my buddy George, who's a huge mentor to me, like some people I know like ask him just stupid questions. Like the dude, he built an 8-figure business and he absolutely crushed it, but people still ask him, oh, how do I how do I get a domain for a Shopify store or something? Like
go to Google, look it up.
Yeah, you could figure that stuff out from people who don't have the experience. But like if you're gonna ask somebody who's like a really heavy hitter, ask them this question you just simply don't have the answer to.
Exhaust all your options first, and once you get to that dead end where you really don't know where to go, then you go to the person.
Exactly. And so many people are like, well, and I can get people who text me and stuff, and that's great that I'm glad people reach out, but I'm like, man, you really like. I wish somebody knew like you can have like. Ask me the right question. And it's not like there's like a definite right question. It's just like, don't ask me stupid stuff. Like, don't ask me stuff that you can easily, like, build something first. And we were just talking about this podcast. Like, build it first so people can see, hey, you know what? The audio sounds good.
Yeah.
The video looks good. You know, the set will improve. Everything will improve. But guess what? If we just talk about, this is what our plan is. This is what we're going to do. Or you ask somebody who does a podcast, how do you guys record your audio? Like, no one cares. Like, don't ask people that question. Maybe like, how did you get this person on your, or whatever it may be. Like, if you have some high level question, but I'm not even in the position to ask somebody that question until I've done it. Like, until I've done the 4 stars, and then I want to go for the 5th.
I could go up and down my Instagram DMs and probably find like 10 questions like that. But
what do you shoot with, man? Like, you know,
stuff like that. It's like, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but some people just don't know.
I get it. It's to know like dissing of them. Like I don't mean that. It's just
I agree with you.
It's just putting it out in the open. Like, hey, think about it because I want to answer everyone's. I'm more than happy to, but like just come from a frame where my brain processes it. Like, man, this guy's he's really trying.
Yeah.
Not like this guy's just looking for some unified answer
Free
that's going to solve all my problems.
Yeah.
Like you asked me what camera and lens I use. Like, does it really matter?
I get that question.
I'll tell you.
Twice a week.
I have a whole gear list online. If you looked at my Instagram,
I did the same thing. I put a link in my Instagram bio that has all my gear.
Your kit. Yeah, exactly.
And now I just send it to people right when they ask me the question.
Yeah. And that's like the reason I wanted to even develop. Like, I mean, like I have like the resource online for that. I'm like, just take it for free. Just don't like ask me questions after that. Like it's like filtration. And that's what I even tell clients in the content space. I'm like, you build videos and content so you don't have to keep repeating yourself. Right. It's saying 90%. You always need to be there to cover the last 10, answer people's questions. But guess what? This answer is, you know, who are we? This is what we do. This is how much this is whatever. The industry, you know, it could be whatever. But I'm just saying, like, just be more specific. Or I guess be more and not even specific, but like just have more invested. Because somebody else you're asking for advice, odds are they've put so much more time and effort into something.
Into figuring out that same question than you are.
Exactly.
And that's how I think about it too.
Exactly. And dude, I mean, I think like even like I don't know, like people have a lot of time to think and research and do and whatnot. And I'm like legitimately curious. Like, what did the people say? Like, did you know you were gonna quit? Like, did you know?
No.
Like, what made you like think that was a good idea? I'm just curious. Like, being devil's advocate.
I really asked myself for months. I mean, it wasn't a decision I made overnight. Mm-hmm. I struggled with it for months. You know, I would talk to my parents about it. I would talk to my girlfriend about it. I'll talk to my roommates about it, and I pretty much got the same answer from everyone. It's like, do what you want, but what are you going to do after?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and my answer was the same thing every time. I'm like, I don't know yet.
Yeah. No, 100%.
I didn't know, and that's why I wasn't leaving, because I didn't know yet.
Yeah.
But as soon as I had that vision and I figured it out, I was just like, I asked myself, I'm like, would I be happier if I left this job and went to a different financial institution?
Yeah.
And I would ask myself that every single morning going into work. And every single time I would tell myself no.
Yeah. And
I just got to the point where people were asking me, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever. I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll do it today. I wasn't even planning on doing it. I literally, I woke up, I was at the office in the morning doing my work. And I'm just like, whatever, I'll do it today. So I emailed my boss. I'm like, can I come in like 2 hours? He's like, yeah, sure. So I walk into his office. First thing out of his mouth. So where are you going? And so, I mean, he knew I was leaving. So clearly it wasn't only like other people knew my head wasn't there. Yeah. It wasn't just me. And like people see right through that crap.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like, not saying I wasn't getting my work done, because I was, but people see when the passion's not there, you're not invested. Like, they see it. And like when he asked me where am I going, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm doing my own thing. And like once I told him what I wanted to do, he was like all for it. He's like, so fucking cool. Go for it. He's like, he's like, if it's something else, do what you want. He's like, if you were going to another institution, he's like, I would be fighting with you right now, and this would be a different conversation.
Yep.
But he's like, if you're going to do what you want to do, go fucking do it. Yeah. So I mean, and I have a good relationship with him still. I still talk to him.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, if you ever like decide you want to come back, he's like, you can come back.
That's so
I mean,
cool.
at least I had that option. I'm like, I'm never gonna fucking come back. But but it wasn't because of them. I had the best team on earth.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And that's the reason I didn't leave sooner.
Yeah.
It's because I love the people I worked with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. I was sick of doing the same shit every day and not doing what I wanted. And one day I woke up and I just said, fuck it.
Yeah, dude. That's crazy. But like, it's cool. Like,
yeah.
I feel like even then, like, I didn't know you maybe at all or very well. But obviously, like, you can follow each other on Instagram, and I was like, I was like silently like rooting, like cheering for you, because I'm like, dude, like this makes so much sense. Like following like the stuff that Nick's done and like the content. I'm like, dude, like this guy, like, he's got the sauce, like he can do it. And I was like, this makes sense. Like, and it's so cool to see, like, because it's like very idealized, right? Like quitting your job and doing this. It's like, but it's like having the drive to like move forward and like progress and make content and like figure out new things. Like, there's so much to be said about that. Like, cause like now it's in hindsight, it's 2020. I'll say that fucking 20 times a day, cause it's the truth. Oh, well, of course Nick would make it work, cause he's great. His videos are amazing, and he's a very likable guy and all this stuff. Like, yeah, but guess what? You don't feel that way when you're quitting your job. Your one source of income that you've been working for years and going through the whole school process, and everyone will be done. Like majority, 99.9% of people in your life will die.
That was the hardest thing, was like, you go through something in college that starts to become your identity.
Yeah.
You get into the professional world, it becomes your identity even more.
Yeah.
I was like, when I first started, I'm like, I get to wear a suit every day. Like, I get to work this really cool job, whatever. That slowly just started to fade, but that was still my identity. I was like, I was the finance guy. I worked at a bank, whatever. That was my identity. When I quit, I struggled so hard mentally with not being that person anymore.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was so hard. And like now it's like, and I truly believe if you're going to be a business owner, you need to fully embody what you do 100%. And be that guy. Like, I want to be the fucking video guy.
Yep.
Like
exactly.
And people know me as that.
Yeah, exactly.
No one knows me as like the guy that works in finance anymore. Yeah. Because that, I mean, whatever. It was 6 months ago. It wasn't that long ago. But like, you need to be that person, and you need to fully embody that, and really like, you need to tell people that. Like, when people say, what do, you need to be fucking proud of it and say it like you want to be that person.
100%.
And it makes a huge difference.
Dude, 100%. Like we were talking about the other day, like, Grant Cardone, like in his books, like whether you like him or not, he's a very polarizing kind of guy, but his books, in my opinion, are very good. And a lot of the stuff that he does say. And it's like, I tell everyone, like my brother is in car sales, and I have a lot of awesome friends like Josh, who's out of the frame right now, who's in car sales and stuff like that. It's like, you know, if you're going to sell a BMW, like you better fucking drive one. Like, in my opinion, you know what I mean? Like Grant always says, like, if you're not sold on it yourself, guess what? You're not going to sell it to somebody else.
No way.
Maybe you'll get lucky, but like lucky is like not going to sustain, right? So it's like, if I'm going to sell you a product, like I better know it's the best damn product.
If you don't believe in what you're doing, no one's going to believe what you're doing.
Exactly. Cause it's so like, it's psychology, it's transparency. Like you're not gonna fool anyone. No one's gonna get fooled. Like people aren't idiots. Even if you know somebody is stupid, inherently they have a brain that's good enough cognitively to figure out that whatever you're saying is like not consistent.
Yeah.
And you might work as being a liar or somebody who's inconsistent or whatever for a few years or a few months or whatever it may be. But the shit catches up to you. People start talking about it. And then people can start poking holes in you and be like, wait a second, he said this to me, he said that. Well, wait a second, why did he sell me a BMW? And he doesn't even like the brand, or he doesn't even own it, or he's talking shit about it, or he does it. I think it's a weird, like, people don't talk about that very much, but it's like, remember, like, you got to rep your shit. Like, you got to be, like, into it. You got to care. You can't, like, dismiss, I don't know. You can't, like, hate on what you do, or not think it's a good idea. It's the same people who like, oh man, you gotta have content, or like, I'm gonna help you build an amazing Instagram. It's like, if you don't have an amazing Instagram, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm gonna help you get followers. Like, if you have 50 followers, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. I get it. But if you're gonna be like, I'm gonna give you 100,000 followers and get you verified. If you're not verified and you have 50 followers, guess what? It doesn't matter. Or like, oh, can I do a shoot for you? If your shit sucks, like, maybe if you're gonna do it for free, like, give somebody the time of day. But like, don't be like, you know, build your stuff up first. Like, take care of yourself first. Feed yourself first. Like, make whatever you're gonna, like, back yourself up in whatever it is that you're doing. Whether you're selling something, whether you're selling a service, whether you're selling a product, whatever it be. Like, back yourself up first. Show the results. Build results with whatever your product or build some kind of dynamic and back end. And I don't know. I think that's important. It's weird to say, but it's important.
No, and one of the things I struggled with the most first starting out was asking people for their money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's hard.
I'd never come from like an entrepreneurial background, and was never, a business owner. I never asked people for money that was really like, hand-to-hand transaction, like literally theirs to mine.
Yeah.
And it was weird to me, and I was like, and everything I had done before was like, all the work I'd done was for myself.
Yeah.
I'd never done it for other people.
Yeah.
And that just like concept was weird to me. I'm like, I'm doing what I like, but like people are paying me for it. And it was super weird at first.
Yeah.
But it changed quickly because I started to see results. I'm like, this is actually valuable to people. They want this.
Yeah.
And that started to change. But I had a really weird relationship with like asking people for money at first.
Dude, yeah. Because it's a very personal thing. You're essentially like selling yourself, right?
Yeah, you are.
Because like it's one thing. Like you sell somebody like a car or a computer or whatever, from my background, like it's a tangible item, right? I'm going to sell you this phone.
Yeah.
Give me $1,000 for it. Deal. You got this, I got that. Video is very... it is tangible, but it's not at the same time. Like, I filmed it, I edited it. You don't like it, I feel personally violated. Like, not violated, but you get the emotional attachment to it.
It's tangible after they paid.
Well, yeah.
Before they paid.
Yeah, and I remember even, like, asking some people. I ask a lot of, like, managers in my life, like, for certain, I've heard them be like, they didn't even send me an invoice or whatever. Like, and that's what goes back to my earlier point. Like, you're never going to be punished for either making money or asking for money. Because guess what? You already signed the contract. You did it. Trust me, I had the most difficult time with that. Like sending somebody an invoice or asking them for a follow-up on an invoice.
I still feel weird doing it.
Yeah.
I still feel
it'll never. And that's the thing. It's life. Like, right? The things that make you feel weird or uncomfortable, a lot of people just never do.
Yeah.
And if you never do it, guess what? Like I always say, you're gonna die or get hit by a bus, and no one's gonna care anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like you didn't even try, and if you try enough, you get warmed up to the topic. Like the first iPhone I fixed, I was scared. Maybe the 100th, I was a little bit less scared. Like you're gonna warm up to the idea of it. The first big project you take on, the first wedding, for example, you take on. If you ever wanted to film a wedding, the first one you're probably not gonna charge a lot. You're probably not gonna make a couple mistakes. You're gonna learn a lot every time, and every time you get seasoned, better and better and better. And guess what? When you go on, you're going to walk in the wedding like, oh, I got this. Yeah. Or I'm going to charge XYZ. It's like a switch like flips. You're going to be like, like, oh, I got this. Like you go from being like super, super like humble, like not humble's the wrong word, but like super like low key, like, oh, like I don't want to charge for this.
You're nervous.
Nervous
is
the right word. Yeah, exactly.
Even 6 months ago when I first started, I went to like one of my first shoots and I'm like, am I supposed to direct people? Am I supposed to tell them what to do? Yeah. And now I'm like, I fucking walk in and I'm like, you go here. You go here,
shut up, do this. Yeah.
So like, it's like you said, it's like a switch. It's like night and day.
Yeah.
You do 1, 2, 3 of them and it's like you progressively, like you said, you can't skip levels.
Yeah.
You get to that first one, you feel more confident. You go to that second one, you feel more confident. You get to that third one, and you're running around like a dictator telling everyone what to do and like taking charge of everything. So
yeah,
everything takes time.
100%, dude. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, man, I think that's a good way to wrap up the podcast. Like that was, us like trying to give you guys like a general understanding of the background of starting a business now and opening up that kind of conversation to questions, stuff like that. You could follow myself on Instagram at SULKR_media for any questions. I know you can comment wherever this is, whether it's YouTube, wherever. But if you want to reach out to us directly, Nick, plug your Instagram.
Nick Loggy, at Nick Loggy on Instagram. I'm at Nick Loggy on pretty much every single platform. So that's where you can find me. Yeah,
sick. And if you want to follow his creative agency, Loggy Media as well. Loggy_media.
I have that linked in my personal bio.
Sweet. Yeah. I got my personal stuff linked in there too. If you need, whatever, reach out anywhere. We're here to help out. We're here to help make your experience a little bit better. But remember what we talked about. We're gonna be open to any questions. Just ask the right questions. Ask the technical questions. Like, what does it take to do XYZ or what? Like the ones that matter, right? And if we get enough of the same question or even like a really pressing question, we're just gonna address it straight up. Like if you're like, oh man, invoicing or selling people on my stuff is so hard. Well, guess what? We're gonna make something to tailor to you. It's all about feedback, what people say, what people think.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And definitely send some stuff into what is that? 4 Stars Podcast.
Yeah. That's 4 Stars Podcast on Instagram.
Forgot the most important one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. So I'm thinking like, if you wanted to reach out to us personally, like straight up, but we're both gonna have, we're both on the 4 Stars Podcast Instagram. Comment there. Obviously, give us a follow if you liked what you saw today. That's number 1. 4 Stars, the actual letters FOUR, Stars Podcast, and we're gonna keep putting out more and more episodes. We're planning to do every Monday right now. to kind of keep a consistent flow with everything.
And we'll hopefully be YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get all three.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, Apple and Spotify and, I don't know, SoundCloud. If you guys need SoundCloud, we could probably do that too. But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if people listen to podcasts there. But, yeah, guys, thank you for bearing with us today on this podcast. And I hope you enjoyed it. I know we both did. It kind of got us in the flow of things. Tell us what you did like, what you didn't like. Anything you'd like to hear about, because this was kind of just us opening ourselves up to you to kind of
throw questions in, whatever, and we'll honestly, it'll help us a ton with like coming up with content to talk about. So like any questions you guys have for either of us or just anything generally, send it in to Four Stars Podcast and we'll bring it up on the next one.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning into the 4 Stars Podcast. My name's Kyle.
Nick.
That's Nick.
Cheers.
Let's get it done.